got a barrel of money. Maybe we're ragged and funny, but we travel along, singing a song side by side. Oh, we don't know what's coming tomorrow. Maybe it's trouble and sorrow, but we travel the road, sharing the load side by side. Through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? Just as long as we're together, it doesn't matter at all. When they've all had their quarrels and parted, we'll be the same as we started, just traveling along, singing a song side by side. Hey everybody, I'm Domingo. This is my piano, and this is my ukulele. Welcome to what has been the most difficult to figure out and record and sequence episode of Domingo and his piano so far. It has been a lot of fun to dig out this old ukulele and try to figure it out. It's actually my father's ukulele. Mine is safe in my apartment in Lancaster, at least in theory it's safe in my apartment in Lancaster before this whole coronavirus thing broke out. Luckily, my father had one sitting at home, and I was able to pick it up and try to relearn everything that I forgot. So why the ukulele? Well, it was the most popular instrument of the 1920s. Some people would argue that the piano was the most popular instrument. Nope, it was the ukulele. And all you need to do to figure that out is just look through some sheet music from the 1920s, as most of the sheet music in my collection actually has the ukulele diagrams printed above the vocal line of all the sheet music. And a lot of sheet music was actually marketed that way, with the little stamps on the front cover that said, this arrangement includes a ukulele arrangement. Because so many people back then played the ukulele. It was very popular with young people, just as popular as it is with young people nowadays. And why is that? Because it's easy to play. And that's not to say anything bad about people who enjoy playing the ukulele and people who are very good at playing the ukulele. Like any instrument, it does take a bit to master. I am definitely not a master of the ukulele, but anybody can pick it up and have fun. You just need 4 fingers to manage 4 strings and your thumb. And then you're strumming away. I can't recommend playing the ukulele enough. And what really got me interested in it was vaudeville shorts. A lot of vaudeville shorts were recorded in the late 20s by Warner Brothers in their Vitaphone studios. And many vaudeville performers played ukulele. That was actually one of the ways that the public was first exposed to ukuleles in the mainstream, was through vaudeville performers. It was almost a tool of the trade to know how to play ukulele, even if you didn't feature it in your act. And luckily, many of those acts were documented by Warner Brothers. Not on purpose, it was a way that these performers could send their performances out into the world to theaters and places that they couldn't reach. Unfortunately, it also brought the end of vaudeville, because if the film of you traveled, you didn't travel. But the good side is we now have all those films, so please look up the Vitaphone shorts. They were only short films between 10 and 20 minutes, if even 20 minutes. I don't even think they were that long, and that was because they were literally done the way that it's depicted in Singing in the Rain. The sound was recorded on a record, and the projectionist would have to start the projector and the record at the same time, and it wasn't a very consistent or smart way of doing things. So that's why they had to limit them and be relatively short, because that's all that early system could handle. So anyway, I loved those shorts, and watching them really provides you with all you need to know about the ukulele. I highly recommend it. Don't watch a YouTube tutorial. Watch something from the 1920s. As with everything I recommend. So anyway, let's talk about 2 of the greatest ukulele performers of the 1920s. The first is the superstar Cliff Edwards, who we know as being the voice of Jiminy Cricket in Disney's Pinocchio. Before that, he, as a young man, walked into a music shop to buy an instrument and saw a ukulele. It was the only thing in the store that he could afford because it was the cheapest instrument. He bought it, learned how to play it, and became one of the biggest vaudeville acts in America. And he went on to be in movies, as I mentioned. He was in MGM's Hollywood Review of 1929, where he premiered Singing in the Rain. Yeah, it wasn't written for the Gene Kelly movie. It was written for Cliff Edwards, and it was one of his biggest hits. And so the other fellow was Johnny Marvin. Now, Johnny Marvin was signed by Victor Records because Cliff Edwards was signed by Pathé and later Columbia. And of course, Victor had to have somebody to compete with Cliff Edwards, so they found Johnny Marvin. And interestingly enough, Johnny Marvin also moonlighted under another name. He used the pseudonym Honeyduke and his Uke, and as Honeyduke and his Uke, Johnny Marvin recorded a bunch of records with Columbia before Columbia stole Cliff Edwards from Pathé. So anyway, let's look at one of the numbers that Johnny Marvin recorded as Honeyduke and his Uke. It's one of my favorite tunes, which I say almost every episode because I just love this music so much. It's called Hot Coffee. And I was so happy to find this sheet music because just look at that. It's so fun. And the two people who wrote it, Bartley Costello and Benny Kruger, are tremendously interesting. Bartley Costello wrote a song called Allá en el Rancho Grande, which is a song that my father knows because it was written in Spanish. At least one of the choruses was, which makes me think that Mr. Costello probably spoke Spanish, and somehow one of his songs made its way to Paraguay where my father heard it. The other fellow, Benny Kruger, is significant because he was the saxophonist with the original Dixieland Jazz Band, which was the first band to play jazz one of the first jazz bands ever put on a record. So he was known for breaking barriers and to be quite a jazzy person, to be quite frank. And of course, this song is just as fun as you would expect it to be, having been written by somebody of that caliber. So let's give a listen to Hot Coffee from 1926, as played by Johnny Marvin when he was pretending to be Honeyduke and his Uke on Columbia. Hungry as sin, walked right in, asked for a bill of fare, opened my eyes with surprise, had someone waiting there. Said, dear, look here, oh babe, I just want you near. Cuddle your charms in my arms, give me kisses, that's where bliss is. Hot coffee, you talk a turtle dovin'. Hot coffee, I never knew such lovin'. Hot coffee, there never was an oven that could ever be one half so hot. Hot coffee, all sugared up and creamy. Hot coffee, ain't nothing else but steamy. I've been petting quite a lot, but nobody's got petting like my sweetie's got. Lead me to it, oh, it's hot coffee, hot. Hungry for love, burning love, that's what my system craves. Soon as I get one real pet, my appetite behaves. Hold tight, good night, you sure do your stuff alright. Do it some more, then some more, you're the honey for my money. Hot coffee, you talk your turtle dovin'. Hot coffee, I never knew such lovin'. Hot coffee, there never was an oven that could ever be one half so hot. Hot coffee, all sugared up and creamy. Hot coffee, ain't nothing else but steamy. I've been petting quite a lot, but nobody's got petting like my sweetie's got. Lead me to it, oh, it's hot coffee, oh, it's hot coffee, oh, it's hot coffee, hot. Hot coffee. Now that's a hot number. Anyway, the interesting thing about that is even though it was covered by, well, not really covered, recorded by Honeyduke and his Uke, Johnny Marvin, this piece of sheet music is one of the few in my collection that actually doesn't have the ukulele chord diagrams over it. I had to figure that out, actually, by learning it on the piano and then learning it on the ukulele. So anyway, there we go with the tune by Johnny Marvin. Let's look at a piece now that actually does have the ukulele chord diagrams on it. Ooh, and I have to be careful here because the spine is broken. Oh, cursed spine. Here we go. This is one that was recorded by Johnny Marvin and Aileen Stanley as a duet. I believe it was piano, clarinet, and Johnny Marvin on the ukulele, and it's called Red Lips, Kiss My Blues Away. It's an absolutely charming number. And actually, if you want to hear two people do this really well, Brian and Yuko Wright. Oh my goodness, I've heard them perform it live at the Central Pennsylvania Ragtime Festival. They do the most adorable duet to this. And it was actually recorded, I believe, on the album Live from Buenos Aires, which is available through Rivermont Records. So look up Rivermont Records and Live from Buenos Aires, and you'll be able to find Yuko and Brian Wright singing Red Lips, Kiss My Blues Away. I highly recommend it. This song was written by Alfred Bryan and James Monaco, who I could spend an entire 5 minutes talking about the two of them, so I'm going to wait until another podcast to do that one. Instead, I'm going to talk about Pete Wendling, the third fellow to help write this song. He was famous for having been a prolific recorder of piano rolls. Really, he arranged them for the QRS company. Hundreds of piano rolls were released as played by Pete Wendling, and the man only recorded 6 actual records. Hundreds of piano rolls, but only 6 records. And unfortunately, while the piano rolls do give us kind of an idea of the sort of arrangement ideas that Pete Wendling could come up with, the only way that we really know how he sounded playing the piano in person is through those 6 records. And luckily, I have 3 of them, and I did digitize them and put them up on YouTube. And between me and a fellow named Frank Himpsel, who made the other ones available, you can actually hear all of those records. Mine are available through my other YouTube channel, Anonymous Archive, that's where I put all my 78 RPM record transfers, because I'm a geek, surprise, surprise. So as I said, this one actually has the ukulele chord diagrams above the vocal line. I don't really know if you can see it, but right here, there's a little smudge probably on your screen. These little smudges are the diagrams that I had up earlier, and that's how I learned this one, off those diagrams. A friend of mine warns me not to always use those chord diagrams when learning how to play the song on the piano because the chords are often wrong. So anyway, let's hope that they're right for this one. I'm also going to be imitating the scat patterns that Johnny Marvin and Cliff Edwards did in the middle. Forgive me, it's going to be weird, but I'll give you a heads up when we get there. Alrighty, here we go. I don't worry when the blues come stealing. I know how to cure them right away. Anytime I get that lonesome feeling, I call up my sweetie and I say, oh, red lips, kiss my blues away. Red lips, kiss the night today. Any old time that you come cuddling near, isn't it strange the way the blues disappear? Red lips, hold them close to mine. Sweetheart, don't delay. Come make a dozen trips, let your red ruby lips kiss my blues away. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna scat. I'm gonna start like Johnny Marvin as Honey Duke. Now is Johnny Marvin. Cliff Edwards now. I told you it was weird. All day long her telephone keeps ringing. Other boys have blues just like my own. that she picks up the phone. Oh, red lips, kiss my blues away. Red lips, kiss the night today. Any old time that you come cuddling near, isn't it strange the way the blues disappear? Red lips, hold them close to mine. Sweetheart, don't delay. Come make a dozen trips, let your red ruby lips kiss my blues away. Kiss my blues away. Red lips, kiss my blues away. And yeah, that whole section in the middle there, when you were just recording a record and it was just you and a ukulele, you had to make it interesting. So Johnny Marvin, when he was Honeyduke, had that strange trumpet-like... And then actually, I got it from the record of this song that he made with Aileen Stanley. When Aileen Stanley's singing, he's in the background going... And then Cliff Edwards, he had that crazy... My parents in the other room probably think I'm crazy. Anyway, that's Red Lips, Kiss My Blues Away. I absolutely adore that song, just like all the other ones. So now let's take a look at our last song of the evening. Again, another one of my favorites. They're all my favorite. This one, though, has one of my favorite covers. Keep Sweeping the Cobwebs Off the Moon. And I think if I was a vaudeville performer, this would probably be my melancholy number, the slow tune that I feature in the middle of my act to kind of bring things down to a somber level. It's written by Lewis and Young, who, I didn't do any research on them because Oscar Levant, who wrote the music here, is really the star of this team. He was a classical pianist, also a band leader. He wrote lots of music for movies. He also was a band leader, playing popular music too, not just classical. He was really just a fine musician, and his career spanned from the early 1900s all the way up into the 50s, and even past that to a certain extent. He was a great musician, and this just shows that even his pop tunes had quite a bit of oomph and depth to them. And it's a beautiful number and actually pretty inspirational in a time like this, trying to make us make the best of things. So here we go with Keep Sweeping the Cobwebs Off the Moon. Come on, children, and gather round. I've got a lot to tell, because the clouds are grumbling. Don't think the world is tumbling. No need worrying, lose that frown. You'll soon be feeling well. A little home philosophy will help to shake that spell. Change all of your gray skies, turn them into gay skies, and keep sweeping the cobwebs off the moon. What good is your pining? Find your silver lining and keep sweeping the cobwebs off the moon. You'll make the clouds hurry away, humming a lovely love song. Some lucky day, somebody may come along to chase all of your sorrows. Take care of tomorrow and keep sweeping the cobwebs off the moon. Some want sunshine and some want rain. We look through different eyes. We all make money funny ways. Umbrella men hate sunny days. Some keep sighing without a pain. They never realize what's bound to be is bound to be. So here's what I advise. Change all of your gray skies, turn them into gay skies, and keep sweeping the cobwebs off the moon. What good is your pining? Find your silver lining and keep sweeping the cobwebs off the moon. You'll make the clouds hurry away, humming a lovely love song. Some lucky day, somebody may come along to chase all of your sorrow. Take care of tomorrow and keep sweeping the cobwebs off the moon. Well, friends, that does it for today's episode. We'll see you back here next week when it's just me and my piano. Take care now.